Welcome to the Via Stoica podcast. These are the Stoic quote series where we talk about Stoic quotes, interpret them, learn how to put them into practice, what they mean, and what kind of influence they had on my life. Maybe you can take a lesson from that as well and see how you can apply them to your life. If you do have some ways that they already influence you, please leave a comment, subscribe, and rate the podcast. In this case, we're going to look at Seneca. We've talked about Epictetus in the first episode of this series. We talked about a Marcus Aurelius quote. And now we're going to go over to that third famous author from the late Roman era of Stoics, Seneca. It comes from his letter to Lucilius. Lucilius Jr. was a person that he wrote his letters to. Whether he really existed or not, we don't really know, but it's such a great writing, so I definitely recommend you read these. This is from letter number 8, and it goes like this. I don't have the physical copy of some of the books. As people might know, I travel, so I've been going over to ebooks, although I love having physical copies. I have another copy of the letters, but unfortunately this is just a rare selection. The quote goes as this. It's on the book, on the letter 8, on groundless fears. That's what it's called in this translation. There are more things, Lucilius, likely to frighten us than there are to crush us. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Such a great quote. I really love it. And a lot of people who I share this quote with, they say, wow, yeah, that's really true, right? We have a good other translation that might give us a little bit of extra nuance and depth into this quote. It goes like this. It's from the Graver edition. More things frighten us, Lucilius, than really affect us. And we are more often afflicted in thought than in fact. Right? So we have these two differences, right? We have the reality, fact, imagination, thought. We might know, we've been talking about this in the other episodes on Tuesday, our regular, larger episodes and interviews. You can find on Tuesday, we've talked about the link between modern day therapy like cognitive behavioral therapy, where our thoughts really shape how we feel, and they can give so much power to something that we don't really know. Now we suffer in imagination, right? We project things of the future. The present is here right now. We get all the data in, but then we start to think about what might happen if we do this. We start to catastrophize things, and that's where we really suffer. And that first part is really important, right? He says that there are more things to frighten us than there are to crush us. How many things have we overcome that we thought we couldn't overcome? How many things that we've lived up to saying, oh, this is going to be the worst. And at the end of the day, they don't even happen. Or when they do, we can deal with them. If you make a mistake at your job or with a person, you face it and confront it and say, okay, I can deal with this. But instead, we can overthink. We can lay awake at night thinking about what might happen if this actually does occur. And then when it does, we are capable of dealing with it. We have all the tools to deal with it. And we've seen in those first two quotes of this series, that one from Epictetus, but the last one from Marcus Aurelius, we can stand up straight and we have that self-reliance. That's something that we have to keep in mind when we're dealing with these things. Yes, we have the negative visualization that the Stoics talk about, right? Think about what the worst is that can happen. Think about what you might be able to do. This is all part of planning, but we have to keep it in moderation. Remember, that's one of the virtues. We have to keep in moderation because then we won't fall into that trap of overthinking, of catastrophizing, of staying stuck. When things happen, we are capable of dealing with them. And that's something we really have to keep in mind. And it's interesting that Seneca goes on, right? The Stoics can be harsh. I know what the Stoics talk about. It can be quite harsh. And some people don't like that because it's too difficult. And living a Stoic lifestyle is difficult, right? We're not going to get it right because the demands are so high if you really want to practice it. Seneca continues a little bit in this quote. He says, I'm not speaking with you in the Stoic strain, but in my milder style. For it is our Stoic fashion to speak of all those things which provoke cries and groans as unimportant and beneath notice. But you and I must drop such great-sounding words, although heaven knows they are true enough. He knows that it's true that all those things that cause us cries and groans are not important. Those are externals. Those are the things that we can deal without, right? Remember that first quote that we talked about from a few episodes ago, right? If we accept things that happen as they do, we can find peace. We can find the capability in ourselves to deal with it. We can still be virtuous. We can still be the good person that we are, no matter what happens. If something happens that's bad, okay, maybe this is a great opportunity for me to show how good I can still be. And that's how we should approach life. That's how we should approach these events that happen. But now when we focus on this, we suffer more in imagination than we do in reality. We are more afflicted by thought than by fact. We overthink. We put these things in our minds and we churn them into something bigger. That saying is like we turn a mouse into an elephant. That's something we should try to avoid. Yes, try to plan, think about what happens if this happens, but also think about how you can deal with it and how you've dealt with other things, and then let it go. It might not even happen. Tell yourself, when this moment comes, I will deal with it then. But now my action is required somewhere else. This is something that I've used myself. Sometimes when I lie in bed at night and I'm worrying about something, I ask myself, what can I do about it right now? Is there something I can do about it? Maybe I can't send an email. It might be 3 o'clock in the morning, but if I don't do it, then I'm just going to keep thinking about it. So maybe I wake up, send an email, and try to go back to sleep. If there's nothing I can do about it, remind yourself what your task is at that moment. If it's the middle of the night, your task is to sleep. If it's lunch, your task is to eat. Focus on what the present moment requires of you, and you will see that it will go smoother. You will see that connection with those imagined futures, those things that haven't happened, might not even happen. That is going to be a little bit further away because your focus is all here. And those extravagant thoughts of worry will be gone because you can focus on what really matters on the present moment. And that's something that we really have to keep in mind. The Stoics are so focused on living right here, right now. This is something that highlights this quote, right? We need to focus here. Keep your focus here, not your imagination on the future that might not even be there. So this is the quote for today. Please let me know what you think about this one, how it has affected you, how it has affected your life in general, and what you think is the power of this quote. Please also feel free to subscribe and rate the podcast. We always appreciate that, and we love for you to be here and listen to more episodes. Every Tuesday we have longer episodes with interviews. We've had Massimo Pigliucci, we had Donald Robertson, we had many other people on the podcast who joined us, talked about their works, and we just hope to add something to you to live a better life. So, and if you need some extra help, you can find more of these quotes on our page on viastoica.com. There's hundreds of quotes listed there with their full references for you to use and to find in your books and see what the differences might be with your translation. But you can find them, you can just Google Via Stoica, Marcus Aurelius quotes, or Via Stoica, Epictetus quotes, or just go to viastoica.com and you will find them there under the blog section. And if you do need some help with applying this, if you feel you are overthinking or living too much in the future and catastrophizing it, you can book a free consultation with us, with one of our coaches, and we can talk about the options that we might have or how we can help you live better. Feel free to do that. You can listen to the podcast. You can sign up for the newsletter we have every month. Thank you for your time. Time is our most valuable commodity. Thank you very much. And hopefully we'll see you in the next episode or on the Tuesday episode.